hear me? Okay. All right, we're getting started in a minute. Okay, how's the audio? And I assume you can see the screens. So welcome to Empire State Manufacturing 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we take and discuss are for educational purposes only. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. Okay, so we're looking at Empire State Manufacturing. So this is more of an informational room than anything else. This report generally doesn't very often trade by itself. But I just can't help myself from wanting to see what the various reports do and how they behave. So Empire State is a New York manufacturing report, and it traded by it. Last time it traded by itself, I believe, was September, August. Let's take a look at something. Let me see. October, it traded with retail news. So how do you tell? You know, we've talked about how do you find out. So there's a couple of easy ways to find out if a report trades by itself or not. You can go to investing.com. Go to news, economic calendar, and then when you scroll down, I usually put the calendar on this week, so it gives me a whole week of data. And then scroll down and look for investing.com. I'm just looking through the Chinese news last night. Retail sales were up, industrial production was up, but year to year industrial production was lower than last month. So I'll have to look at copper and see what it did last night. So you go to New York Empire State Manufacturing, click on it, and then scroll down, and it will give you a list of previous dates. So you could scroll through them. So I'll tell you the truth. There's a better way to do it. So let's forget. I don't want to do it with investing.com. It's too time consuming. When it's working, and it isn't always working, but there's a site, fasteconomicnews.com. Go to their calendar. I showed everybody this Friday. fasteconomicnews.com. Go to their calendar. And usually they have at least a day, the same day on there. So click on Empire Manufacturing. Bingo. Now we have Empire Manufacturing, all the recent reports. So you could see today it's trading by itself. October, it traded with US retail sales. So Empire State is not the report that's moving the market, it's retail sales. And then in September, it traded, I'd say, so okay, September, it was pretty much by itself, so it's similar to today. You had an import price index, but that's very minor. Then you go into August, and August, it traded by itself. So you have 2 months, and then it goes into a period where it traded with PPI, it traded with Philly Fed. So that's tricky. So it has some history of trading by itself, but maybe 50% of the time. So you don't have a reliable way to really test the report. Going back into April and testing markets does not have very much meaning right now because the markets are not behaving the same way that they did back in April. So you have to think about when you do your testing, if you go back too far, the testing won't be very meaningful because the markets are very different, unless it's a huge report. Big reports are so impactful, like US jobs, retail, things of that sort. But a little report like Empire State Manufacturing, you need recent market tests for the report to be viable, for your testing to be meaningful. And if you've only got a 50% report, meaning a report that usually doesn't trade by itself enough, so you've got a double difficult job to do your testing. You've got to figure out if you have a recent enough time period to do the testing, and so you have to make a decision. And this particular report, I just don't think there's reliable testing, unfortunately. So it traded by itself in October, September, and August and September. And I'm just going to take a quick look. And we have not been doing much. We haven't been focusing on this report at all. So in October, I have a video for October. So we'll take a look. Sorry, I have a video for September. So let's see what it did, if I have even any notes on October, which we should. Bear with me. So some months, because it's been such a slow little report, we haven't even been looking at it. So October, I don't see, we weren't even watching it in October. So the most recent test we've got is September. Let's take a look at the video in September. Turn off the audio. Now this is, let me see if this is a valid video. Hang on. Bear with me. So September 15th, Empire State. (9:15:21). And I don't see this as the right video. So it's September 15th, but the time is too late. The trade's already over. So not going to help, unfortunately. Don't have a video for it. So on September 15th, no video because we really just haven't even been watching this report. So that's what we're dealing with. Haven't been watching it. I did a little bit of NQ testing on it. It didn't look that great on the NQ. So, okay, October 15th. Okay, so actually I have notes for September 15th that it had a very, very large offset, meaning the news was a very big difference from what was expected and what actually happened in September, and that created a viable trade. So in September, there was a big difference in the news that was expected, and that created a move. So this is a report. We just don't have enough history having traded it. So I wouldn't start my week with a very random trade with not a lot of data, if you follow me. So I would test today. I wouldn't trade live. And I would do 2 separate tests. And let me just get the news up and I'll show you the test that I would do. And the frustration is, so then you do all your testing, and it is possible. Sometimes the calendars will list when the next report's going to be. So you can look into the future. I mean, they will list the accuracy of the dates as you go further and further away from the current date. The accuracy of the dates is less and less. Now, what's interesting is they're showing a 17-minute release time. Let's look at Forex Factory for a second, because we're not, well, no, I guess that's pretty close. 8:12. Yeah, it's a little early. In other words, okay, I'll go with that. Let's make sure our time's in sync. That's the first thing I want to do right now. Going to the website time is, and my time is in sync. So in order to put your time in sync, go to the website time.is. So a test for the NQ. The NQ is extremely volatile this morning. The gold, let me set up the gold test on this report. So it's a shame. I would have sworn that I had the video for this report, because I remember that September trade. Now, we have found, and we've seen Empire State, Richmond, these area-based Fed manufacturing reports sometimes don't release at the exact time they're supposed to release. We've seen some of them come in early and late. So you just want to be aware that sometimes, and look at the NQ. Look at the NQ. The markets are amazing. Nothing seems to stop the markets from going up. You know, they have a pullback and then they just continue on their merry way, right? It's incredible. When markets are making new high after new high after new high, it's hard to trade. Definitely hard to trade them when that happens. Now gold's going to open in 5 minutes. So quick setup on this report. Markets are pretty volatile this morning. Put my video, get my video on. So audio's fine, folks? Everybody can hear fine? Just give me a heads up on it. I'm just curious. All right, so recording this. And my gold setup. Gold looks like it wants to test the high of the day, no matter what happens on this news, doesn't it? The markets are going up. Gold is going up. Gold is not up monstrously right now, but it's starting to trend pretty strongly to the upside. So my bracket on this report is an 8. It really would have been smaller, but I'm just a little bit concerned about the markets. If I don't get a big move, then I don't really want to be in the trade. A 12, 5 target and a 12 target, stop of 10, and an entry time of 8:29. $8:29.59. My entry time. And I would notate this as Empire. And gold. That's my first setup. And volatility of these markets makes it extremely tricky. It's a small report. Now, gold volatility, it's going up to test the high, like I just said, for the open. Okay. Gold testing the high for the open. And the MQ is just going up. Going up. So here's my gold setup, 8:29.59. And then the NQ, given the volatility of this market, my testing bracket, I don't know if it'll survive it, to be honest. The report didn't move well enough to have a bigger than an 8 bracket, but the market is so volatile right now, it may not fill properly. You might get filled on the wrong side. You might fill early. Gold hit the high and reversed. My bracket was 8, a target of 6, a target of 13, and a stop of 18. And an entry time of 8:29.59. And that's NQ. And my testing on the NQ is rather difficult. This is testing only, folks. Testing only. We don't have enough history with this report currently to put real money on it. Now, I've looked at it. I've looked at this report for a long time, for years. And it's always had the issue of every now and then it trades by itself. Every now and then it trades with other reports. It's a 50-50 in terms of whether it'll trade by itself or whether it will trade with other reports. So you just don't, it's just not a report that offers a lot of reliable testing to understand what it might do. You just don't really know what it's going to do. Now, the reason I had my charts spread the way they're spread is I tested my brackets, right? So if you want to test your brackets, you just make sure you're in sim and you put your time to 0 because the strategy will think the time has already passed. Keep your finger on the cancel check mark And you see, it's a perfect bracket. When I say perfect, there's plenty of room. Okay? You want to be able to see this trade if you're testing it. So then I go back and just simply put my time back to 8:29. So that when I then enable the trade for real, it won't trigger until the time is correct. Now the NQ has been so volatile, so you want to see, I tested my bracket before I got here. So to test the bracket again, you just make I'm just checking the spacing of the bracket, because sometimes we just scrunch your charts too much, or they're too far apart. So that's a perfect bracket. So then I just go back and put my strategy back at the correct time. You can get the strategy to think that the time has passed if the first number in the strategy time is 0. Entry time is 00. So that means the time is already passed. So the strategy puts the orders on the chart when you enable it. But you can see normally, if I was in the room, not having tested my brackets, I'd scrunch those charts up. And then when we run this test, we will not see clearly what takes place. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay? I think everybody understands that. Market's pretty volatile this morning. I'm looking through the news. There's some earnings. The journalist was freed from Myanmar, which I thought was pretty nice. Just looking through the news. And I'm not seeing anything outrageously dramatic. Now, I'd say that we are coming into what we call holiday trading. And we have a history. Before I got here, we had a history where there would be no reports, nothing really, between the week before Christmas and New Year's week. So in other words, we would take the week of Christmas off through New Year's. When I got here, I did a lot of testing, and we certainly found that major reports still move the markets. There is different levels of volume during the holidays. So I'm assuming that my boss will do the same thing he always does, which is take that time off. It wouldn't be a horrible idea to take 2 weeks off at the end of the year. And of course, we give the 2 weeks back. We wouldn't count it as part of his subscription. But I don't really know too many companies that take that much time off. Okay, I want to thank everybody on YouTube for coming. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to see the full trade results, let me give you a link. You can come and join our trade room. And I want to thank everybody on YouTube for watching. So you can definitely come and join our trade room. Go to our website, www.10minutetrades.com. And thank you very much for watching.